What's up, people? General at work here with another video, and this video is about why executing on a business doesn't always work. Because I know we know those people who talk about starting a business but never really quite start that business, and they always talk about, oh, I'm going to do it one day, oh, but the timing isn't right. But then you have those other people who execute on those businesses. I feel like I fall in the category of executing. I've started a lot of businesses throughout my career, and majority of them failed. I mean, I don't think I have a success yet, but through all those failures, I think I figured out 3 reasons why execution doesn't always work. Just because you start the business doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be a success. So I kind of want to touch on those 3 points throughout this video. So if you can subscribe to the channel and like this video, that will help us out tremendously. Let's get into these 3 things why execution doesn't always work for business. The first reason why I would say just because you execute on a business doesn't necessarily mean it's going to succeed is a lot of people forget to have purpose with their business. And what I mean by that, you have to have a why with your business, which I strongly agree. Your business has to be able to build a community. It has to be able to bring in an audience. It has to have people who actually care about what is the goal of the business. Like, what are you trying to change? And a lot of people see it like, oh, as long as I just sell a product, I should get to where I'm trying to go. And yes, you can have a fad or something that's just niche, but without that purpose, without that why, it doesn't really build a community. Not a lot of people are going to flock towards your brand, your service, or whatever you're offering. So it's very important to have a purpose, because without a purpose to a business, it's kind of like a person without a soul. It doesn't have a reason for people to stick around. And what I've learned from my businesses and my endeavors and the things that I've tried, whenever I try to do a business strictly for money, because let's be real, most people purpose is money. It's not necessarily, oh, I want this business to change this, or I want it to solve this problem. And because of that, you won't have a lot of customers, because it's a very selfish reason of starting business and for money. And let's be real, a little bit of it has to be for money, because we not out here not trying to make money. That's just the real facts of starting a business. Most people start a business to build a legacy, to have something to hand down from generation to generation. So we kind of lack the purpose part, but there is a lot of brands out here that have a very big purpose, and the purpose is bigger than just money. If they figure out a solution to the thing, to the purpose or the why, then they have now an audience of people who also agree with that why or that purpose. And now it brings in an audience of people who are naturally going to flock to it because of the purpose of the business, not necessarily the business. There's a lot of unnecessary businesses out there that do very well because of the purpose and the community aspect of the business. And that's huge nowadays. People want a community to belong to. They want something that has a purpose or driven to do certain things. And I've noticed that throughout starting the businesses. I think my second business had no real purpose, or it didn't have a why. I was just focused on the product, and I thought as long as we make good products, people are going to flock to it regardless, because it's not necessarily about a purpose. We don't need a purpose. Who cares? But I was very wrong. People very much care. They want a community to belong to. And if you could figure that out, you will have a brand that goes longevity and possibly even profitable. All right, so we talked about number 1 being purpose, and I think the most important one of all of these is number 2, which we all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. I don't think I know anybody that's not guilty of it, but consistency. Staying consistent with something is probably the hardest thing to do, because we're all busy people. We all got things to do. And if we don't have things to do, there's things we prefer to do. And that's human nature. And I don't think anybody falls outside of this category, because consistency is just one of those things that it doesn't come natural. It's not like, okay, I know I have to do this thing over and over and over again, especially when you hit a certain goal. Like, people have these goals in their head to when they hit that goal, okay, no, I don't have to work anymore. I don't have to do anything anymore. And this thing should keep growing. But people are very mistaken with that. That's just the beginning. When you get to a certain point, it only makes it harder. It only reassures that you have to be even more consistent than you were before, because now you have eyeballs on you. Now there's people who are judging you. Now there's probably even people that depend on your consistency. So consistency never stops. And the bigger you get, the more you succeed, the more consistent you have to be. And I think that's one of the biggest parts. And I feel that this too, like I said, majority of the things I talk about, I experienced in real life. And the second I start to see major success with one of my businesses, I thought that, okay, from this point on, we figured out the formula. We know exactly what to do. So I don't have to work as hard as I did in the beginning in order to get it to go. But if anything, I had to work harder, but it wasn't necessarily the work hard aspect. It was the just keep doing what you're doing. And I didn't. I started slacking. I started cutting back. I wasn't posting as consistently as I should because I thought that I unlocked some cheat code, but keep doing what got you there. Don't stop the thing. And a lot of people get very comfortable, and I'm no different. I'm not excluded from this audience of people. I think once you see that you succeeded at the thing you was trying to succeed at, it's kind of like what's next. But what you don't realize is not what's next, is keep doing what you're doing to keep this going, and then work on what's next while being consistent with the thing. So consistency goes for anything that you do: business, YouTube, life, your job, if you want to get promotions, because this doesn't just apply to starting a business, but that's what I'm talking about, starting a business, something that you are trying to make a stream of revenue from. But it doesn't just start there. It starts everywhere in life. Everything you do requires consistency. And I think we all are wired to, when we hit a certain point, we think, okay, we should celebrate, and we kind of like, hey, I deserve to take a little break, which we probably do. I'm not going to doubt that. But you have to understand, when we slow down at something, you lose momentum. All that momentum you gather getting to that point, and you take it easy, you do lose that momentum. And you see that very big in certain industries like streaming. If you were to stream consistently for a long time and then you start to slow it down or not stream as much, you can gradually see you lose viewers. And that's just one industry of many, but that's one that you can drastically see the difference from being consistent and not being consistent. So consistency is one major key that people need to realize that you have to be able to do whenever you're trying to establish a business or your YouTube channel or whatever you're doing in your life. You have to stay extremely consistent. And I think everybody know that consistency is a big part of growing anything that you're doing. But let's talk about number 3. Number 3 is just being patient, just waiting it out, just doing the first 2 things very well, having a purpose, being extremely consistent, and being very patient to see the thing that you're working on grow. The numbers grow over time. You see the numbers grow gradually. Sometimes it's extremely slow, but then you have those people who are unique or the exception to the rule. And of course, we all have that, or we can even call it the unfair advantage. People who just have things that help them get to a certain level, or they just do something that's so different that it gets the attention immediately. And a lot of people see those people and then think, okay, I should be where they are. Everything and everyone has a process that they go through. And we don't all see the story of a person to build to the point that they get to where you find them. Because the reason you found them is because they did everything that you did. They've been through every season that you're about to go through. They put themselves in positions of hardship to get to where they're going. Any founder that you typically know about, they've been through some type of hardship to get to where they at. Any YouTuber that you probably watch, they probably been doing it for years, being extremely consistent, having a purpose, having a why. All these different things is what put them in the position to where you are now on their radar. You see them, you now see like, hey, I want to be something like that person. But in order to be that person, is you got to go through what they went through in order to get to where they at. And a lot of people don't realize how much work that takes. They think it's easy. They think, oh, well, I could talk to a camera in my room and it should be easy. What's hard about that? But there's a lot of steps to it. You got to film it. You got to be able to speak it. You got to be able to write the script. You got to be able to edit the videos and then put them out and hope for the best. I mean, these are all things that you have to learn, and you got to put out a good thumbnail. You got to have a good title. And that's just YouTube. I'm not talking about the business aspect of things. There's some people who have businesses. There's some people who have YouTube channels, and some people even work doing all 3, in the same amount of time that some people only do YouTube channels, or people only go to work. So you have to be patient. Patience is extremely is important. It's one of the hardest things to do, and I'm the worst person to ask. I'm one of those people who can't even wait for an overnight package from Amazon. So I'm not one to talk. I know that I'm not patient, but I know that I have to be patient. It's one of those awareness things. You have to be aware that no matter how impatient you are, you still have to be patient. You have to wait your turn. You gotta see it through. And if you can't do that, then it's just not gonna work. Quite frankly, if you can't do all three works hand in hand. You can't just do one and expect to get the results. You have to do all three. You can't just be consistent and not have a purpose and not have a why and not be patient, because you could be consistent and just keep posting aimlessly and not getting anywhere with your content or getting anywhere with your business, putting out market strategy after market strategy, but not seeing any results. So there is a certain level to just doing something with no purpose. And that's the big reason why all of them go hand in hand. You got to have every single one for you to see that real success that you're looking for. And this is things that I've learned from experience. So I hope that what people take from this video is that it can be done, but if you do it in the right manner and you have the right attitude towards it, because there's those rare occasions where you could even have all three and somehow it still doesn't work. It's just, and you hear a lot of founders and a lot of entrepreneurs and even, YouTubers that speak about there's a little factor of luck that's also involved in succeeding. And you do have to have that. But I do think you got to put yourself in a position to be lucky. That's 3 reasons why just executing on a business does not necessarily mean it's going to be successful. You're going to want to have purpose. You're going to want to have consistency, and you're going to want to be patient. And those 3 things will factor into having a successful brand or a successful YouTube channel or whatever you're trying to do with your life. But with that being said, I appreciate anybody that check out the channel. If you can like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, it definitely help us out tremendously. And I'll see y'all on the next one.